Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the council meeting for Wednesday, May the 28th. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Our land acknowledgement, we are gathering on lands that have been home to First Nation people from time immemorial. We acknowledge that what we now call Richmond Hill is on the treaty lands and territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit, First Nation, and the Chippewa Nations of the Williams Treaty. We also recognize that we are on part of the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee and the Huron-Wendat. We would like to acknowledge all First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people from across Turtle Island who now reside in the city of Richmond Hill. We are committed to rebuilding constructive and cooperative relationships. With that being said, I would now ask, if you can, to please stand for our national anthem. Okay, thank you very much. We have a public forum, but I don't think we have anybody signed up for that. So the next item on our agenda would be council announcements. Is there anyone with council announcements? Councillor Tree and then Councillor Shu.
Okay, thank you so much. So thank you so much for this PAC meeting. So there are a few events happening in our Ward 4. So last week for the Richmond Hill Baptism Church. So they have serving our community more than 70 years. So congratulations for your service. Also for the Richmond Hill Presbyterian Church. So they reopened their mansion houses for public. The renovation is done. There are 2 floors with 4 bedrooms. So if any NPO nonprofit organization interested to have a office or maybe rental services, please engage our local service as well. So in Ward 4, we're going to organize a garage, our annual garage sales. So this one, due to the facilities, so we are trying to maybe set up your own garage set in front of your own home. So I sent a bunch of flyers to social media and also newsletter. If you do have interest in the participate in this garage sale, please register. So I'm going to send out a bigger final list, which street, which homeowner will have certain of the garage sale events. So you're welcome join. Last year we have around 90 residents join this event. So hopefully this year I have more. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. And Councillor Shu. I got it.
Thank you, Mayor West, and thank you all our neighbors who joined us for the Community Safety Expo and panel discussion this past Sunday. Also, a big thank you to Mayor West for being one of the panelists and some of my council colleagues who joined us as well. And I hope this event helped raise awareness about crime prevention and gave everyone some helpful tips on better protecting your property. So let's continue working together to keep our community safe and strong. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor. Regional Councillor Chan.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you can tell, the city have a very, very busy weekend. I know all my colleagues have been almost everywhere in our beautiful city. I had the pleasure of hosting the 2025 Spring Fair last Saturday. my team was honestly overwhelmed because the attendance is well beyond the wildest dreams. Literally thousands of people were at Richmond Green. My gratitude went to everyone who took the time to attend, enjoying all we have to offer. And I truly appreciate that despite the busy schedule, I understand Mayor is in a lot of places and also some of my colleagues, but also actually joining me on stage at the right moment, so to speak, is also my colleagues, Councilor Davidson. Councilor Thompson did show up, but have to run off to somewhere else, Councilor Tree, and also Councilor Shield. Also with the Ontario Minister Michael Parser representing the Northern Riding of Richmond Hill, MPP Way, York Regional Police Inspector Alexander, and also Deputy Chief of the York Paramedics were all there. I know all my colleagues, even though they may not be there physically, but we are all there in spirit to have a community-oriented and family-friendly event. In fact, lots of children, including parents, are noted. They really enjoy the free ride on the Cho-Cho train. And thank you to everyone who have attended. And particularly, I'd like to shout out to the events team, as well as my office team and volunteers. And without them, it won't be possible. But above all, I think that the weather has been very kind to us. No rain, the sun did came out. Thank you very much. And I look forward to next year. Hopefully we can even do it better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Regional Local Councilor DePaula.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just want to make an announcement that June 7th is the Family Fun Barbecue at the Mill Pond. We have already got 3,500 registrants. It is a smaller venue, so there is free parking. There's an arrangement been made with the hospital. And, you have to come early, find a spot. But registration has been paused, but it's still a free event and all are welcome. Whether you've registered or not, all Richmond Hill residents are welcomed, and that takes place June 7th at the Mill Pond from 12 to 3.
Great, thank you very much. Councilor Thompson.
Well, thank you very much. Through you, the mayor, it was a very busy weekend this past weekend. You're probably wondering why the mayor and I look like we're brothers from another mother today, but I'm gonna let him tell you a little bit more about that. It has to do with well, it was related to one of the events that we went to on Saturday, which was a spring market over at L'Arche Daybreak. I'm gonna let him speak a little bit more about that. I do want to advise everybody that this weekend over at the United Church, there will be a solar panel seminar on May the 31st, Saturday from 2 till 4:30. This is about, how new solar power works and how it can work for individual homeowners. So if you haven't thought about that as an initiative, you may want to check that out. That's, again, the United Church between 2 and 4, and it's being presented by Climate Action Richmond Hill. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else? Okay, a couple of things. As Councillor Thompson alluded to, we obviously shop at the same store. And I'd like to thank the Caldwell family for having these shirts for sale that we got at the market at L'Arche Daybreak the other day. But the point of this is to mark the beginning of Accessibility Week. And I really like the way that they're spelling accessibility. It's access with a capital A and then ability with a capital A. And I think that's the point, is that we're trying to make communities that are accessible and welcoming to all people, no matter what barriers or lack of barriers that they have in their lives. But I think it's really important that, we're creating a built environment and a social environment that welcomes everybody's gifts. And I think that that's really the point of Accessibility Week here in Richmond Hill and across the country. I'd also like to thank my staff and all the staff that we had encountered yesterday with the mayor for a day. So Mayor Alyssa was here, really wonderful young lady from Larmont School, won the essay contest to get to be the mayor for the day. And we had all kinds of staff come and talk to her about all the different things that are happening in the city of Richmond Hill. And I think she was probably a little overwhelmed by knowing all the things that we do here in the city. But I really appreciated some of the staff spending their time and listening to some of her ideas, which actually were very good, and listening to that from a youth perspective. But also, I must admit, me sitting in and listening to staff explain to somebody, a young person, all the great things that happen in Richmond Hill, it really did make me very proud to be mayor of this city as well. So thank you to the staff for that. I also would just like to mention, on the weekend, we also had the Hill House Hospice walk, and it's always a great event, rain or shine. And I've had rain and I've had shine over the years in doing that event. But they raise a lot of money, and the folks that support Hill House are many. And they're quietly going about supporting that, but they really do have an army of people that have used their services, and at a time when their family needs compassion the most. And the interesting thing that I heard a lot in that was that the people that send their loved ones, at their end of life to Hill House, allowing the loved ones to spend their final days in comfort in a very welcoming environment, but also, and this is the part that I really was driven home for me, that their loved ones were then able to be husbands, wives, family members, as opposed to caregivers. And I think that it's a win-win situation. So I look forward to seeing Hill House expand and fulfill their vision of creating an 11 or 12 bed, I think, hospice in Richmond Hill, as opposed to the 3-bed hospice that they have there right now. And I can tell you for sure I'll be behind that initiative all the way. And finally, I just want to give a special shout out to Councillor Hsu. He had his event, as he mentioned, for community safety. And I know that all council members pretty much have had community safety events over the last little while, which I very much appreciate. And I think, given how important this is to the community, I think that is a good thing that we're doing. But Councillor Hsu, good job. It was quite an extensive event that covered a whole bunch of different areas of community safety, and it was well attended. And I appreciate you and all the rest of my council colleagues for putting on events like that. So thank you. But that was a little bit longer than I normally go, but thank you. So the next item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. Oh, sorry, emergency and time-sensitive matters. Are there any? Okay, seeing none, we have adoption of the agenda. So I need a mover for that and a seconder. Councillor Hsu, Councillor Tree, all those in favor? Opposed, that carries. Thank you very much. So now disclosures of pecuniary interest from any members of council. Okay, seeing none. I should say we have regrets today from Councillor Silovitz. She's at home not well, so we wish her all the best for a speedy recovery. Adoption of the previous council minutes. We have a 2-for-1 special today. Council public meeting held on May the 13th and council meeting held on May the 14th. I need a mover and seconder. Councillor Liu, Councillor Davidson, all those in favor. Okay, thank you very much. That carries unanimously. Identification of items requiring separate discussion. So we have everything on the agenda could be adopted on consent except for 15.2, which is being held. We have delegations on that. That's the 107 Hall Street application. So anybody want to pull anything for separate discussion? Okay, seeing none, I need a motion to adopt the remainder. Councillor Liu, Councillor Davidson, all those in favor? Opposed, that carries. Okay, so that means that we've adopted 15.1 through 15.1.17. 15.3 is correspondence. 15.4 is more correspondence. Can we do the bylaws, Mr. Clerk? Okay, bylaws 18.1 and bylaws 18.2 all have been passed on consent. Okay. Okay, public hearings, we have none. Presentations, I don't think we have any today either. So we have a number of different delegations. We have 6, I believe. The first one is Murray Evans about the revised zoning bylaw amendment application for 107 Hall Street. We do have a fair number of delegations today. So just to be clear, the delegates will have 5 minutes to address council. So when the First bell goes off, it means you have 1 more minute. When the second bell goes off, that means you're out of time, and if you could just wrap it up. So, okay, Mr. Evans, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Murray Evans on behalf of the proponent. My purpose here is just primarily to answer any questions that may have arisen over the last week or were generated through last week's discussion. But if I could just speak to 3 minor matters. Firstly, if you recall last week, there was a discussion about whether this particular application is going to serve to set a precedent in this area. And while it's been a long time since anything's happened in the downtown area, since before the OP was adopted, and that's probably the Tridel or the Benson buildings, this will be one of the first ones to go through under this, I'll call it the centers and corridors regime. But I'll offer to you that I don't believe it is a precedent setter, in the sense that, yes, it will be the first one, but the municipality has established a framework for future development in the downtown and also in the areas, the corridor areas surrounding it. So this one might be the first one, but it's going through under the guidelines and the policy framework that has been entrenched by City Council. And namely, if you recall from last week, the official plan allows high density development with a maximum height of 15 stories. The zoning bylaw, which City Council has adopted, allows, as of right, 15 stories. So we're not seeking anything that deviates from the municipality's OP and zoning bylaw with respect to height. And of course, as we discussed last week, the difference is the additional 0.3 of a density factor that the building, the design of the building accrues. So that's it. I'll offer to the council that the policy, standards, and framework exist. There will be more. And will this be a precedent? Yeah, maybe, because it's the first physical one to proceed, but the regime is in place to allow for more development. One of the other matters was parking from this particular building, and will it spill out onto Hall Street, and where will people park? And it's an interesting situation here in that the plans anticipate a parking supply of 328 spaces on the property. Now, the interesting twist on this is, as you probably know, this is in, as we heard last week, this is in an MTSA area. The province's requirements are there's no parking, 0. But in this particular case, and in practicality, people aren't buying condominiums with 0 parking. We still are in Richmond Hill. People need to get to arenas and the supermarkets and the like. But we are providing a parking standard. And the further twist to this is that City Council has received a parking recommendation study, probably late last year, that will serve as the basis for future standards in your new comprehensive zoning bylaw. We exceed those. So not only is there parking provided, which the province has indicated is not necessary, but we will exceed the soon-to-be implemented parking standards of the municipality. And I guess the last thing I'd like to raise with you, so I have a few seconds, is a philosophical matter. And we get back to what I spoke about last week, is where do we want people to be? Clearly, I think we all know suburban development is not what we are desirous of having for future generations. We want intensification in appropriate areas. Council, through its OP, has said this is an appropriate area. We can walk the Yonge Street. We can hopefully lessen our reliance on vehicles. We can put people in housing, and I'm going to use in quotations, affordable. You know, there are varying price ranges for it. It's a condominium development, but it's certainly not a 6,000 square foot, the value of a 6,000 square foot home. I will wrap that up because I think philosophically we want people downtown, and it's just, this is the beginning. So I'll leave it at that, Your Worship. If there's any questions, I'll be pleased to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much. The next person that we have signed up is Beatrice Solar, 125 Hall Street. Welcome, Beatrice.
Hello, good morning, Mayor and councillors. I'm here because I just want to talk about the development at 107 Hall Street. So as you know, I live at 125 Hall Street, which is the little townhouses that are going to be overshadowed by this new build. Next slide. As you've probably all heard, there are many issues regarding traffic, parking, shadowing, especially of our particular property, as well as some density issues with, the added one bedroom, that it was expanded from I think it was 265 units to 300 units, with most of them actually being one bedroom units, which I would say are not conducive to the growth of bringing more families and more family households into the Richmond Hill area. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I'm sure you've already heard all of these issues, but I would like to raise a different topic that maybe is one that has not been considered. Next slide, please. So when it comes to the developer, I personally have some concerns, and I have reached out to the developers to try and get a comment, to try and get some clarification, and have unfortunately not gotten any response from them. This is not to say anything negative or to speculate anything about the developers. However, I do want to point out some facts because I want the council to consider who are we allowing to develop in our communities and who are we allowing to come in and essentially build and, I guess, create the future, right? Imagine the future of what Richmond Hill is going to look like. So I'd first like to start off with the affordable housing promise. Some issues that I see with this idea of affordability. So the unit types and pricing are currently determined solely by the developer. And also there are some short-term mortgage flexibility or incentives. However, they're both temporary and developer controlled. So I don't personally see the long-term benefits to increasing affordability in Richmond Hill for families. And also there are some multi-generational units that are speculated but not fully subsidized. Most of them are one-bedroom units. And this is not really going to bring in more families, more, people who will help grow Richmond Hill and grow the community. When I was doing research into the corporate structure, I noticed that the previous, if I'm correct, there was a previous development for townhouses in that area on the exact land. And that had gone through council, that was approved, it was something that would have worked for the community. And unfortunately, it never went through. And so, when I was looking into it, the companies that were involved in that are also affiliated with the current builders, and the property has not been sold since then. So to me, that just raises concerns about whether this build is going to come to fruition, as well as the reliability and ability to deliver from the developers. Then finally, there's the maintenance of the historic property. I walk my dog past this historic property every morning. It is the most rundown place I've ever seen. I'm not sure how they're going to move it. The windows and doors are boarded up, and there's very little maintenance or, taking care of that property, which again brings to me concern about how this property is being handled since it was purchased in 2013. And finally, I just generally feel that there's a community disregard, especially with the decrease of 2 and 3 bedroom units, as well as this idea of moving a heritage house. I'm not even sure how a historic property that's been so run down and boarded up and probably has squirrels and raccoons living in it, how that's going to be moved and maintained if there's, true interest in maintaining that heritage aspect in Richmond Hill. Next slide. And when I look up the developer's website, you can see the 2 photos. I'm just pointing this out. The new development, and they still have pictures up of the old development on their website of the townhouses, as you can see. And even on the LinkedIn profile of the principal owner, you can see that it's written the towns at Langstaff House, 23 towns and 1 heritage home, site plan approved and units for sale. This was on May 21st, 2025. I just wanted to point that out. Next slide.
Beatrice, you're almost out of time, but how close are you to being done?
I have 1 more minute.
Okay, go. I'm going to turn my head away from the clock, but you need to wrap up.
Okay, so sorry.
That's
I
okay.
didn't hear the bell.
No, actually, and the bell's not working, so go ahead.
Oh, okay. I apologize. Sorry, I can't see the time anywhere.
No, no
So,
problem. That's fine.
So the last thing I want to say is I'm very open to revisiting the townhouse proposal if that is something that would still be possible in the area, given that it's the same group of owners and developers working on it. The other thing that I'm going to say is last week you were talking about how, this is going to go to the land tribunal and most likely it's going to get passed anyway, or they're going to build something bigger. And what I want to say to that is I think going to the land tribunal from the research that I've done would delay the project at least 1 to 3 years. I think this will allow for some more infrastructure to improve in Richmond Hill during that time. By the time they're going to end up building it, maybe the roads will be better and we will have expanded, or there are other things that would have come into the community that allows this to be more workable. And so the last thing I want to say is I'm 8 months pregnant. I grew up in Richmond Hill. I went to school here. This is my community. Sorry, I'm just getting emotional. I'm very pregnant. And I understand that not all changes are going to be wanted by everyone. But I think as counselors in your position of authority, I can't do anything. But I have hope for my child that this community is going to grow in a positive way. And that all of you are invested not only, to help developers or to see the community grow with high rises and become, more urbanized, but also taking into consideration families, trying to bring in families to Richmond Hill, and ensuring that our community is protected, and that even if something may seem like it's, hopeless and that you have, no authority to change this because it's just going to go to the land tribunal and then we're just going to have to fight it. I think I would hope that that's your role, and you've taken on your positions because you want to be there for your communities and you care about your communities and you're willing to fight to see things through, even if that might be hard or challenging or cost us a few more tax dollars. I totally understand.
Okay.
But that's my hope, and I'm done. So thank you so much.
You're really good. Thanks very much. Thank you. Okay. Mauro Derizotti. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
All right. So is the bell not working? Hold on 1 second, Mauro.
Thank you. For the benefit of the chair, unfortunately, when we're sharing a presentation, the bell doesn't always work. We will endeavor to
Oh, I see.
do a
Okay.
manual bell
Okay.
accordingly.
All right.
Okay,
So you might get belled, Mauro.
that's fine.
All right. Go ahead.
So, good morning, Mayor and City Council. My name is Mauro Cerizzotti, and I live at number 12 Millwall Court for the last 25 years. I've come to council today to present a petition on behalf of our local neighbors in regards to 107 Hall Street development proposal. Due to time constraints, I only had 24 hours, but I managed to collect 97 signatures on this petition, on this issue, which I will read to you. So to the city staff and Richmond Hill Planning Department, we, the undersigned residents of Hall Street and the surrounding neighborhood, express our profound concerns regarding this proposed 15-story condominium development and associated zoning changes at 107 Hall Street, City File OPA-23-001 and ZBLA-23-0002. We strongly disagree with the proposal as it stands, it is incompatible with the historic Richmond Hill community's character and existing infrastructure. While we acknowledge the need for more housing, we respectfully request the following critical amendments to the proposal for responsible and integrated development. So number one, significant reduction in height and density. The proposed 15-story height of the floor space index FSI of 3.4 are excessive. We request a substantial reduction in height, size, and number of units to align with the historic Richmond Hill Downtown District established character and capacity. Improved built form and urban design. The current overbearing tri-building design is unacceptable. We request revisions to redesign the layout to consider the towers to the very eastern portion of the land, perhaps with a smaller or no central section, and preserve green space and old growth trees on the western side with the Heritage Dr. Langstaff House made into a heritage museum, along with a playground for children under the canopy of existing old-growth trees. This large development will surely have many young families, and there is no playground in the area for children. A playground can be used by all children in the area to create and foster a sense of community with the new residents in the development. The heritage designated home of Dr. Langstaff has a long history in Richmond Hill, even once serving as a local community hospital. It deserves to be made accessible and benefit of all Richmond Hill residents as a community amenity. And then another point here is waste management logistics and big vehicles like fire trucks prevent the backing onto Hall Street as it stands. We do not see how they will be able to turn around within the development. And then number 4, ensure 45-degree rule compliance for appropriate building setbacks, in particular on the western and northern property lines. And number 5, we would like a comprehensive traffic and safety solutions. We request a robust, independently verified traffic management plans and parking solutions that do not negatively impact existing residents. We urge City Council to listen to its residents and ensure any development at the precedent-setting 107 Hall Street is a responsible addition that can serve as an example for future developments that integrate within the existing community and residents, not create an overwhelming imposition with the disregard for heritage, culture, and the existing community. Sincerely, the undersigned 97 residents in Hall Street and the surrounding neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mauro. Okay, next person is Tom Zelenka. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you. Well, I got a timer here. I think we had some slides. I don't know. Perfect. Okay. So thank you, Mayor and Council. Next slide, please. So a number of years ago, there was an amendment made to the city plan that created protected major transit station areas. Quite the mouthful. And, you know, sadly or unfortunately, I think myself and certainly none of the neighbors that I spoke with ever heard of these before or understood what they were, or for that matter, their implications, which are quite profound from what we've learned in these applications. And I think, I want to focus on one word here. We talk about protected. It's a protected MTSA. What do we mean by protected? What are we protecting here? Next slide, please. Are we protecting the traffic, the parking? We've heard from a number of residents, actually from all those, I guess, that signed that 97 petition, that traffic is an issue, or certainly parking is. This photo is from like any kind of weekend. I don't think we're protecting parking here. And we heard from Mr. Evans that parking is not even a concern in these zones. Next slide. Thank you. Are we protecting the existing residents? I don't know. I think a lot of residents are going to end up being in shade half the time. Are we protecting the green space? As far as I can see, this proposal is clear-cutting the entire forest in that area. Are we protecting the heritage home? I'd say no. As somebody said, it's probably full of squirrels and raccoons today. And I guess down the road, it sounds like in the proposal, it's going to be filled with maybe gym equipment for the existing residents there. I don't know what. So I don't think we're protecting any of those things. Are we going to be protecting our pregnant neighbor here or her child during the construction of 2 or 3 years of this monstrosity? I don't think so either. Next slide, please. So what can we protect, or maybe let's not use the word protected zone or protected area. It's just lip service, but actually protect something here. So how can we take this development, which clearly is far along, but integrate it somewhat better into the existing community and create less of an imposition on the existing residents? Here's a few ideas anyway. The Heritage Langstaff House, as we've already talked about, has a long history in Richmond Hill. Once known as a village hospital, it served our community. Let's make it accessible to all residents of Richmond Hill, not just the ones of this new residence of condos. Perhaps it can be made into a community center, heritage museum, or even with a little cafe, kind of like we have at Cover Notes around the corner. Secondly, this large development, although there are one bedroom, I'm sure those people will have kids eventually. There's going to be many young families there, and there's young families in the area already, as we see today. Yet there's no playground in this area. So why don't we take some of that green space there and a couple of those large trees that we're going to be clear cutting and leave that for a small park to serve not only the residents, but the whole community. Next slide, please. I mean, there's lots of ways to amend this proposal. Certainly going back to what we saw in the townhouses would be the preferred solution, but barring that, and I guess what this council has approved in terms of the zoning and changes in this area, a few things that can be done, at least within this proposal, is why don't we shift all the buildings eastward as far as possible, because there's no access on the east side anyway. This will provide a little bit more sun for the townhomes. Secondly, why don't we redevelop make them lower, of course, perhaps terraced or something that's more fitting for the community. Thirdly, the Langstaff home, why don't we redevelop that as a community amenity, perhaps even with a cafe or something within it. Thirdly, create a new little small parkette in the corner. Could we have a playground for kids, existing kids or new kids? We don't have kids anymore, but there's lots of, well, young kids anyway. But I mean, there's certainly lots of young children in the area. Fifth, that little area could be assumed by the city to take control of the of that area, just like many developments assume parkland and historic areas from developers. And then finally, we have a concern about parking. So there's a spot there certainly to create additional parking, not only for the condo, but also for the Langstaff Heritage Site and the parkette.
You're actually out of time, but if you
Oh,
can just
sorry.
wrap up, that'd be great.
Yeah, the next slide is just a summary. So, I mean, I think even amendments like this, which are, I would say, fairly minor, are a win for a number of people, win for the developers, certainly. They would end up building their condo towers, potentially save 2 or 3 years from going to the province. They would shift eastward, hopefully be more constrained. They would actually increase the value of their condo units because they'd be next to a city park, a playground, or a community amenity. Certainly a win for the city, adding new park space, including a playground for children. I mean, I can see Mayor David West cutting the ribbon already. And, potentially some lease revenue from the cafe to offset maintenance cost. And at least something for the existing residents, new city parkette, community amenity, and a little bit of afternoon sun for the townhomes, which would otherwise be in shade. Thank you.
So thank you very much. The next presenter is Julius Zuloff.
Good morning.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're virtual. Julius, how are you?
Yeah, thank you, Mason.
Welcome, and you've got 5 minutes to address council.
Thank you. Council members, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for letting me share some opinions, ideas on that project. We have heard from Mr. Evans how appropriate and how well within guidance and this development is, and that it will not really be a precedent of the case, and it fits very well to our city. And I have some problems with that statement. May I have next slide, please? I only have data from the Statistics Canada. I believe the city has much better data. So I took an effort and looked into the Young corridor from Elgin Mills to 16th and see how dense who lives there, how many people live there, and how dense the population is there. Yeah. Next slide, please. So this is the composite of the units. The Statistics Canada is using dissemination area as the unit of analysis. And as you see, the density population is between 1,400 and 14,000. It's a pretty big spread, but most of them are in 2,500, 3,800, 4,000. The population density in the Richmond Hill in total is about 2,200 per square kilometer. And that in our area, when I live in 124 and at 25 Hall and around, it's about 4,200. So it's twice the density. And in that corridor here, the population density average is 4,000. Yeah. So when that will be built as planned, yeah, the population density in this dissemination area when 107 resides will go to 11,000. This is more than 5 times the average of Richmond Hill, 2.5 times current population density. Let's go to next slide, please. So this is the numerical values of the behind that chart we have seen before. Next slide, please. So this is this dissemination area we're talking, basically couple zip codes around the N9, and that's how it is. We're going from 47 to 11,000 population density. Next slide, please. Yeah, then we have the high rises. Yeah, I look in the high rises north of 16th in Richmond Hill. This proposed development will be the third biggest residential building in the north of 16th. So it is precedence. It's definitely not within what we've seen so far. I understand there is some vision of developing our town, our city, but I'm not quite sure if that vision is comprehensive and really attuned to what we need here. Next slide, please. This is the visual. On the left side, we have the Weldwick and Young. That is the area where is the highest population density north of 16th. The upper picture is the 14,000, lower picture is 11,000. On the right-hand side, we have a whole street where it is proposed to have the same population density like the photos on the left-hand side. Thank you. So I see the difference. Yeah, this 107 has to be developed. Definitely, it's a high-value land. Yeah, but it's too big and too charging and it will forever change the environment on the village core and the old Richmond Hill. Yeah, this Richmond Hill was as that type of community on the residential area for more than 100 years. Yeah, yeah, and now we are changing this irreversible. Next slide, please. So this is the statistics of that proposal. Yeah, it is outrageously intense, exceeding whatever it is. So next slide, please. So it's the population density. It's unacceptably concentrated. It doesn't fit the area, and it shall not be developed this way. Yeah, it needs revision. It has to be scaled down. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, the council.
Thank you, Julius. So last speaker that we have registered is Susan Day. If we have Susan here. Welcome, Susan.
Okay, my name's Susan Day, and I live at 137 Hall. Somewhere back in many of these meetings, I had presented on my feelings about the Langstaff House, so I was very glad to hear it mentioned again, because it was an important facility in Richmond Hill. My family for many years received their medical care there. And I am saddened every time I go by and see what has been allowed to happen to that house. Everybody should be ashamed. But anyway, I attended the council meeting last week because thankfully our counselor let us know the meeting was happening. I think that the lack of communication recently makes it look very shady. I was saddened by the council's decision-making powers on the proposal having been essentially stripped by the bullying tactics of the provincial government. You can tell my bias right there. By far, the saddest aspect of this was that I was not surprised. We get what we elect. If our elected city council and citizens of Richmond Hill have no say in this proposal anymore, I wanted to present today to focus on things that may still be allowed to be in local control and cannot be ignored or decided without notifying people that live in the area. My following remarks also ask that you do not include the often referred to last week Crosby Extension solution. Until the parcels of land have been secured and all proposals for access approved, it is not a viable solution to throw in people's faces or to deal with immediate issues and distracts from the real practical issues of all the traffic funneling onto Hull. I feel that by the time that ever happens, if it does, many of us in this room will no longer be above ground. Street parking on Hull. During construction, there will be a need to designate areas where people working on the building can park safely. The street parking is designated for 3 hours only. An obvious solution would be for the town-owned parking lots in that area be assigned for worker parking. I hope this will be arranged and communicated to the building owners prior to the start of any work, whatever proposal goes through, and strictly enforced. Parking when building occupied. Strict enforcement. You're going to hear that word a lot in my presentation. Of the 3-hour parking rules and ongoing issues of parking that blocks access to driveways of existing homes. People who park on Hull do not seem to understand that driveways are not for them to park across. All of this enforcement will become much more of an issue in the winter. Anybody who saw Hall Street last winter will know exactly what I'm talking about. I felt for the plows. I felt for the windrow people. It is not constructed for the amount of parking that happens there, and the enforcement has slipped. Construction vehicles blocking the sidewalks. If construction vehicles are to be parked across the sidewalk, forcing pedestrians onto the road, there must be a flag person assisting pedestrians. This just happened at Benson and Lucas a couple of weeks ago, and small children from McKillop were being forced out onto the street with no assistance. Pedestrian safety in general has to improve. Is that the end of mine?
It is. You just wrap up.
Okay.
I've been,
I just think this is a community safety zone now. A sign got put in my lawn a few months ago. Nobody seems to pay attention to it. But between Wright and Benson, it's a community school safety zone. I don't think people have even noticed the signs. Getting across Hall, to Benson, which McKillop kids have to do to get to school. It's frightening. Come and I will show you.
Okay.
Frightening.
Okay, Susan, if you can just wrap up, that'd be great.
Yep. It takes a village to raise a child. If we don't address all these issues, the seniors, we've had a good life. They hit us, we're going to have a serious accident, and this has to happen before it happens. Don't wait till a child is hit.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, that exhausts our speakers list, so we'll bring this back to council, and the local counselor is Councillor Tree. So Councillor Tree, if you want to get us kicked off, and are you going to be moving the motion, the staff recommended motion, or what?
I'm not going to move the motion.
Okay,
So-
we need to get the motion on the floor, so I need somebody to move the motion. Okay, Councillor Davidson, I'll come to you after it's seconded, okay? Councillor Davidson, did you want to speak to this? Go ahead. Actually, I need a seconder as well. Okay, Councillor Thompson. Okay, so go ahead, Councillor Davidson.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to everyone who came, all the people that wrote the letters. I know this is not what you want in your neighborhood. And I said last week that I wouldn't want it in my backyard either, but I'm talking now. Thank you.
Okay, excuse me.
Not trying to be insulting.
Folks, we were listening carefully when you were speaking. It's time for council, so go ahead, Councillor Davidson.
So when I said last week that the province has taken planning like this out of our hands, I mean it. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing is responsible for deciding what is a major transit area. And the argument is that if you're near Yonge Street in general, that's where we should build up.
Okay, folks, excuse me. Thank you. Go ahead.
And it stretches out a distance, as you know, from Yonge Street. And what the province has pretty much done is saying, okay, council, residents, we're going to decide what the densities are, but we're not going to be here when we have these discussions. And all that's managed to do is pit us against you, pitted against us. And the truth is, to say we could go to the Ontario Land Tribunal as a delay tactic would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars of your neighbors' tax dollars. And the record is that they're going to say, your staff approved it. It fits all the checks that the province created.
Councillor, just continue, please.
And that, as has happened in the past, almost as a punishment for councils to challenge that, other higher densities are permitted. And it's happened in Aurora, it's happened in Richmond Hill. I completely agree with the issues about traffic. This council has things we're working on to work on that throughout the city. And I understand wanting to keep the character of your neighborhood and who will protect the children. I understand all that. But these smaller units are meant to invite younger families and meant to invite a whole new generation to come and live to Richmond Hill. And that's the argument behind why we're allowing higher densities, because who can afford the house I bought 25 years ago now? My own kids can't. So I am sorry, excuse me, that this is so acrimonious, and it's extremely frustrating to not be able to say, you're absolutely right, 4 stories would be better. But when someone owns property, the city doesn't decide who gets to develop it. When someone owns the property, they get to make an application to build something there, no matter who they are. And there are many, many steps that the city does to make sure they comply with all kinds of things, environment, and are we going to have sewage and all that. So we don't get to pick and choose who does what on what properties. And I honestly don't see how we can say no without going against the staff reports and the province, and all it will do is cost money to the taxpayers. So I support this application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can I, Councillor Thompson, you said you'd second it. You're next, if you want to speak.
Thank you very much. Through the chair, I think I said a lot last week at the Committee of the Whole. Yeah, I definitely don't like this application, just like everybody else. I mean, this is something that I don't think is appropriate for the particular area. This is our village core area, and to me, that's what, you know, somebody kept coming about protecting. And yes, I agree, that's what should be protected, is our village core area, and this, to me, is not keeping that in mind. But again, and I'll go back to what somebody else said about communication. It's very difficult to get communication out there at this time. We no longer have a local newspaper. So, you know, I think it's great that the councillor, you know, did as much as he could to make sure that the residents were aware that this was happening. I don't like that our legislation says that the circulation only has to be, I think it's 120 meters from the site. That's as much as it has to be circulated. Please, I'm talking.
Councillor,
Please.
just
I waited while
continue.
you people spoke. Please wait while I'm speaking. I'm telling you the things that I don't like, just like you don't like. These are things that we're trying to work on. So one of the other things about the communications, I think, is that it's now put us all in a position where I feel that even though we're the majority, we're pegged as the minority. Because when I see this provincial government gets a mandate again, then it tells me that either we didn't do a good job communicating what's going on out there, otherwise who would have voted them back in? That's just my opinion, but you know, I could get myself in trouble if I keep going down that path. One of the things that I asked between last week and now is that, you know, there is only the one access coming in and out, and it's on Hall Street. And I know that there were some comments that were being made about the Crosby extension, you know, that perhaps there would be other access at some future point, and I don't know where that came from. So I asked staff about that, and they said, well, no, there are no plans for vehicular access to that Crosby extension if and when it ever occurs. That's the only thing that we see is a pedestrian access at the eastern portion of that property. And I said, well, okay, so how comfortable are we with this access on Hall Street? I mean, I'm reading the report, and on page 4, it says that the access is proposed by way of right in, right out on Hall Street, of which we know that people aren't going to adhere that, even if you do put that out there. I know that, you know that. But what I found out, and you know, staff can certainly expand on this, is that actually that is not the plan, even though that's what it says in the report. I'm understanding now that the driveway will be directly opposite the Millwalk Court, and it says here to form a 4-arm, 2-way, stop-controlled intersection. So I'd like to ask staff if they could just expand on that and tell us exactly what that means.
I don't think, there we go.
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, those full traffic control intersections and how they will play will be part of the evaluation of the development application when it comes forward. So at this point, the traffic impact study that was evaluated by staff meets all the criteria, and staff is satisfied with what is being presented. So it's at the time of the development application where we start to get into the details of what the exact intersection configurations would then look like.
Are you're talking about the site plan stage of the development application, which would be next, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Through the chair, I think I'm still a little confused because when I was asking this question before, the response I got here said, the development proposal includes one driveway directly opposite Millwalk Court to form a four-arm, two-way stop-controlled intersection. The proposed driveway will be a full moves access and not a right-in, right-out access. The traffic impact study submitted in support of the proposed development assessed the driveway and is expected to operate at the highest level of service, which is both under existing as well as future conditions and was considered appropriate. So it's not going to be a right in, right out, if I'm understanding correctly.
That is correct.
Okay, so we're making a decision, although. So we're making through the chair, it sounds like we're making a decision, although we're not sure exactly what will be there, except that it's not going to be a right in, right out.
I don't, okay, can you expand on that? I don't think that's actually framing the situation the way it probably really is, but.
Through the chair, I'll defer portion of this question to Acting Commissioner Janetta.
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson. So at this stage in the approval process, the application, the development proposals are reviewed on a technical feasibility basis. Does this make sense from a transportation perspective? Does this make sense from a servicing perspective? Is there adequate infrastructure in the area? At this time, based on the access that is proposed and the surrounding infrastructure, both existing and planned, the access as currently proposed, which is a full moves, right? It's not a arterial to be right in, right out. I think that was a typographical error on staff, planning staff. It is a full moves access. It will function appropriately to support this development. And that was based on the traffic impact study that was submitted by the applicant, reviewed by city staff and accepted.
Okay,
The plan application will give further details into the mechanics of all these things, but from a technical feasibility standpoint, at this point in the approval process, it is deemed appropriate.
Okay, so Councillor, you're out of time. So if you have other questions, we can go to the second round, okay?
I will do that, but just to be clear, I am seconding the motion mainly because of what I said last week, is that I'm not going to spend the good tax dollars on a fight that we can't win.
Okay, thank you. All right, Councillor Tree.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll say thank you so much for our residents come to this park meeting. Thank you for your time. And also special thanks for Agnes. And she walked more than 100 families and let you know this meeting is coming. So appreciate all the efforts for Agnes. So I want to acknowledge certain things. There are a few residents mentioned for the one is for the traffic problems. So normally I drive to our center, I could not find any park around. So whenever Young Street or nearby to the other side of Ward 2, I have to drive back and parking my car along the Hall Street. So yes, it's very crowded, especially in winter as well. So that traffic is really my concerns. Also regarding to the gradings or shadows. So you know, Canada, 6 months is our winter, right? So sun now rise from 3 o'clock locations, actually from 4 o'clock. So at that time, I believe that when the slides show up, the shadow problems. I believe that's true. Even 6 months, you may see sun at all in the early morning. That's going to be a long and permanent impact for our community. Another one I want to mention here is, as you all mentioned, so city do take a few actions regarding the traffic. In the past 2 years, we built up a lot of the traffic calming solutions, especially along the OM public school, also Pleasantville public school as well. So the traffic is heavy. A lot of the drivers taking Benson Street, taking Lucas as a shortcut to the Mill Pond. So the traffic is really a problem. So in increasing the density in this area, definitely I can assure there are many cars might park on the street, and maybe more people taking the shortcut coming to our community. It's really big concerns. Also regarding the densities, as I last week mentioned, from my observation, this plan is not, or proposal here, is not intensifying Young Street. Because you can see, I visited the site 3 times. I walked around nearby streets. Also, I visited nearby parking. You know, east side of the site, a few buildings. So there do have a lot of big parking space. I park my car here, just take a look from east side of this one. So this location is very close to Lucas Street or House Street, is not Young Street. So as I stated from last week, this proposal is not intensifying Young Street. Even it's inside of that our OPA areas, but the direction is very close to our internal community. It definitely need more concerns for me too. I want echo of what the one of the plan, so to bring the small parkland playground to our community. I believe this is also a very strong and perfect suggestion. So when we developing new proposals, we're not only considering the newcomers, also for considering a community as a whole. I have a few questions I want to ask our the staff, city staff. What is the nearby parking or parks close to the community? Is that Mill Pond or others?
Through the chair to Councillor Tree, are you asking me what's the nearest park?
Playground.
Sorry, through the chair to Councillor Tree, are you asking what's the
The
nearest
playground.
park?
Yeah, the playground.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe the nearest playgrounds are at Dorothy Price Park, which is on the other side of Young Street. It's about 800 meters away. And to the west, the nearest one would be Brad Stark Park, and it's about 800 meters away.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Also, regarding to this proposal, I saw there are only 21 or 22 buildings being defined, or units being defined as affordable. So this entire overall is around 300 units as the total. So my next question is, what exactly the number of the affordable houses or units inside of this proposal?
Sorry, through the chair to Councillor Tree, can you repeat your question?
The affordability portions or ratios inside of this proposal.
Through the chair to Councillor Tree, so the proponent is attempting to meet their affordability requirements through the use of the additional one-bedroom units in terms of the sale price of those units, which is one of the options that is typically accepted. They're also looking at providing a 25% subsidy for maintenance fees for the affordable units for the first 2 years of occupancy, flexibility for the provision of additional 3-bedroom units within the podium, and partnering with a nonprofit organization to help with additional financial support for purchasers.
Thank you so much. So I want to echo the parking. So I think based on current provincial regulations, yes, because it's in the MTSA zone, there are no parking required. But look this way, you have 300 units. So if there is no parkings, it's going to be a very challenge in future. City does not have any parking yet. We are demanding or asking our planning team to design a master plan for the public parking, but so far there's no. So introducing 300 units in our community without parking will be a disaster. So I appreciate the builders to provide that services, but unfortunately, it's too much for our community. So that is my first round. I'll think about it if I have two other questions. So I might move to the second round if possible. Thank you so much.
Okay, is there any other speakers wanting to speak on this? Okay, seeing none. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. What the major change that I've seen, and I was first elected to this council in '97. I born and raised in Richville and represented the area from Highway 7 to 16th. That included Young Street, and as a community, we fought really hard against, the inevitability that Yonge Street would have density. But as a community, we came together with public meetings and but we were able to have a lot of say. This council was able to listen to the residents, and we were able to push buildings toward Yonge Street and protect 100 to 300 meters behind Yonge Street, and in a way that was palatable for the community. And what's changed is that public process. That's what this provincial government has changed, and the density and other policies haven't really changed, but the residents are really no longer included. In 2019, when the legislation was passed that created protected major transit station areas, the region then had no choice in 2022 with its official plan to entrench these boundaries, and we had no choice with the OPA Amendment 18.6, but to comply with what we were told would happen at the province, and that the whole time, during those 6 years when this area was planned, the public's not involved, and here we are at the last minute. It's like a bus transit system is built without any consultation with people, and then at the very end, the public is invited out to choose if they want glass or plastic on the bus shelters. Like there's no, and we do have some limited ability to really force this applicant to be respectful of the community, and we are going to do that. We'll be very strict through the site plan process. For example, long before this building's ever built, we have approved on this council of automated speed enforcement, and through community safety zones in Richmond Hill, we will have speed cameras, and they're extremely effective in local neighborhoods. Once you go too quickly, you're going to automatically be issued a ticket, and the behavior changes very quickly when those are installed. So they're working very well currently in Newmarket, and that's going to happen within 6 to 9 months. The go ahead's been given to our staff, and I don't think we've chosen locations, but being aware of the circumstances here, I think Hall Street is something that community safety zones will have to be beefed up in many ways, and we'll have to be as strict as we can as.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Well,
Go ahead.
We have listened, and we do understand that the density is way too much. I mean, I'm talking about those buildings that we put on Yonge Street that the community was so against. They're only 16 stories. So you look at, we only have 16-story buildings in Richmond Hill on Yonge Street. Those for us to be forced, I mean, it's not protected. The protection is not for our heritage, for our history, for our environment, our wildlife, the safety of our children. It's protected major transit station area. It means the landowner's rights to intensify their property is protected. That's what the province did. They protected landowners' rights to intensify, regardless of the opinion of the community, regardless of the wishes of the duly elected councils in the area, and that's what's happened in Ontario.
Okay, folks,
obviously,
we've given the communities that got their time to respond, and I respect that, but we need to get through the comments from council. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As budget chair, administering $300 million in property taxes for all the community services and all the other things we do, our planning powers have been severely diminished. But through the site plan, building permit process, and other processes, this council does the best it can to safeguard your interests when it comes to planning and new growth. And there is a significant role for this council, but our role was taken away in 2019 when it comes to MTSAs. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Regional Local Councillor Chan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I wasn't thinking about speaking because I did raise a number of points and questions from the 3 delegates last week, aside from the applicant's agent. I'm glad to see actually we have more people come out to speak today, 5. So altogether, thank you all for coming and thank you for all the efforts. I do understand that the opposition or the other individual mentioned about shadowing, all that. My colleague who spoke before me talking about the provincial authority now is creeping more and more, well, actually, yeah, into the planning authority of not just Richmond Hill, all municipalities. And some of us may have heard the phrase, the municipalities are children of the province. So the province have direct responsibility over us. Now, having said that, I'm going to focus on what we, at this point in time, at Council or City of Richmond, have control of. I asked that question, but some of you might not be here last week, so perhaps I would raise that question again, because I initially do last week and still am, through Mr. Chair. Then I think that as the community would like to know how it shift or increase from 265 units to 300 units, and what have been the kind of changes that would lead to that kind of outcome for you, Mr. Chair. Perhaps the Planning Commission or Acting Planning Commission.
Through the chair to Councillor Chan. So the increase in the number of units can be achieved a number of ways, and sometimes it's simply the redistribution of the types of units. So if they had if they had 250 units, and half of them were 3-bedroom units, they could create, more 1-bedroom units, and all of a sudden you have a total of X amount of more units for the development, notwithstanding the GFA has stayed the same. So we don't typically regulate the distribution number of units. We have the opportunity to do that as part of our efforts to ensure that family-sized units are included in these types of developments. So it could have been done in that way. There was a bit of a shift from some GFA from the middle to the most easterly portion, an additional story, I believe it was. So that may have shifted a little bit of additional GFA to one building versus the other, which could have provided more opportunities. So we're not necessarily concerned about the number of units per se, as long as the GFA typically stays the same and the building footprint stays the same from a planning perspective.
Thank you for your answer. So I gather looking at the number of units, one thing, but at the end of the day, the unit size may be different, things of that nature. I got it. And in fact, I honestly think our staff, mind you, the staff, they're professional trained. They're looking at all the technical elements from the application. And if you have a chance to look at the report, our staff, I respectfully say they did a very decent job in terms of looking at all the concerns that have been raised in the past: height, density, compatibility, transition, traffic congestion, site access, parking, design, massing, shadowing, and privacy, and much more. The point I'm saying is not that these issues have been raised, and staff have looked at it from a professional angle, analyzing whether in fact it could be deemed appropriate within the context. And let me be upfront. If we will have, say, forget about this, reject this, we probably look like heroes, right? But the reality is, as my colleague was saying, that if the applicant takes the city, we're rejecting this, they go to the Ontario Land Tribunal. And I asked specifically through Mr. Chair, actually you last week, to the staff, in your professional opinion, would all this analysis and report have done, would this particular application constitute a good planning? I ask the same question again through Mr. Chair to our planning staff.
Through the chair to Councillor Chan, as outlined in the report, staff are very comfortable that this proposal represents good planning in the context of the city's official plan.
Well, please be respectful. The reason I did that, I would just, I want to really have the hard reality sink in. Do all of us in here, everybody saying, yeah, go for it, pop it up to 25-story. No, we're not. But the hard reality is when our professional staff, in their professional opinion, unbiased, that say it constitutes good planning. I know you have different views on this, and the city will have a really, really challenging or almost very difficult to, well, we have to hire other planners, hire other lawyers of our tax dollars to try to defend the position when a professional staff already said it constitutes good planning. And whatever the outcome you think from that, I think your guess is as good as mine. So it is very challenging, it's very difficult, but that's a hard reality. So I just want to raise that so that we know what the actual really situation, the frustrations I think my cars are facing. But that's what the situation. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for me to bring it up, what I actually surfaced last Wednesday as well.
Okay. Councillor Hsu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you so much for all the delegates who show up and share your thoughts. I will echo most of my colleagues that we hear you. Yes, we totally get how frustrating this can be. You care about your community, and we care too. We are elected officials, and we understand where we are coming from. Actually, we are just doing for the best interest for you in the long term. Because at the same time, I hope you understand what the position we are as well. Actually, we can just simply vote against and say no to this application. It's easy to do, but what's next? I can tell you the next step, the applicant will go to appeal at the OLT for sure, 100% sure. And what's the outcome? And I can tell you as well, the outcome is even more harsh than the original proposal. For the past experience, I can tell you that. So this is the art of compromising. And trust me, we can doing something for your best interest for long run, okay? Because the OLT will see this subject land, this subject land has no question falls under the official plan 18.6. What that means? It means we must confirm the requirement by the provincial government. And what the city of Richmond Hill and the York region is doing is in line with the provincial government, like Bill 23, like Bill 109, 185, and I've heard there will be a new bill coming. But all the above bill shares the same nature, which is to build houses more fast. This is the order from the provincial government that we have to confirm with. So I hope you understand what the position we are in. And there was one delegate mentioned about the PMTSA, and I recommend you all to attend the meeting tonight, which is about the PMTSA Public Information Center, hosted by the city at the McCarthy Center at 7. You will get more reference about how the PMTSA works. So I encourage you to attend that meeting tonight. And I hope you understand that we are just doing for you, for your best interest in the long run. Not just for today, just simply vote no for you. So my last word is don't get emotional. Don't get emotional. Yeah, this is what emotional means.
Okay, folks.
Yeah, so this is my kind words. Believe me or not, okay, what we are doing is for you, best interest, because we are your elected officials, okay? Trust me.
Okay, thank you.
That's all my comments.
Thank you. All right. I think we've exhausted our first round. I do have a few comments, and I spoke last week, and I know a number of you were there, but so I'll try not to repeat too much. But I wanted to keep track of some of the things that were mentioned in the presentations, and they were excellent. And thank you very much for coming out and doing that. I think I mentioned last week, I know this area really well. I mean, I was on council when we spent an inordinate amount of time getting the approval for this townhouse complex that never ended up getting built. And that's a whole other frustration. But a couple of things. I think the underlying theme that we were talking about last week is that I am quite confident with absolute certainty that if we turn this down, given that it actually very, very close comes to complying completely with what's allowed in that area, the OLT will overrule us. And at that point in time, as soon as it gets appealed to the OLT, the way the legislation works is the city is no longer a party to making the decisions. I mean, we can attend and defend our position and stuff, but that is it. Like, it's out of our hands. We have had situations in the past where the OLT has made rulings, and it certainly isn't better. And this is not a threat as to what I would think would happen, but it is possible that it could actually get worse. I'm really disappointed with the treatment of that heritage house, and it is sat there and languished now for a very long time, and frankly, it's unacceptable. And I can tell you, when I was the ward councillor, I spent a lot of time, dealing with our bylaw staff and property standards, and trying to get the owner to the best of our ability to take care of that house. And I'm not defending the neglect of that house in any way, shape, or form. But I will say that I do also know that the best way to save heritage properties is to have somebody live in it, take care of it, and love it. And this, I mean, if there's any silver lining whatsoever, I mean, maybe it's not even silver, maybe it's bronze, but whatever lining there is in this, I am happy about that. I'm happy about them taking care of that house and making it into a vibrant space that it deserves to be. It's an important part of our heritage. I also think that there are some ideas that were floated around about, some of the other things that could happen on this property. I've done some initial work into determining whether that would be viable or not. I'm not making any promises on this because I'm not sure how we would entrench some of the community uses within that, what is private property. However, I think we're trying desperately, or I'm trying, and I think my colleagues are too, to find ways to make this more of a benefit to the community. And I will continue to do that. There is a site plan process. Like, if this type of thing is approved, it still has to go through a very meticulous planning process that deals with all of the little details. And there are a fair number of details that I don't think yet are solidified at all, but solidified to the best outcomes for our community. So I will be monitoring that and making sure that we're doing the best that we can in that process. Okay, I do also appreciate the fact that there are some affordable features built into this building. And as the applicant said, condo type buildings are going to be a lot more affordable in Richmond Hill in this day and age than anything that's on the ground, like a townhouse or a duplex or a single detached home. There's just no question about it. And this group has decided that there's ways for them to, use some kind of innovative ideas on how they can make some of these units even more affordable and have some of the units as affordable. So we need to solidify that. This is a slightly new world, but we need creative solutions to make sure that that's going to happen. So I think I've said, I've tried to cover as many. There's still a ton of things that people ask, and I don't have enough time to be answering all of them. I mean, chances are this meeting's going to end fairly soon, and if any of you would like to hang around afterwards, I would be happy to sit down and answer any remaining questions. I have this meeting blocked off of my calendar for a little while longer, so I do have some time to talk to you. And I think maybe that would be a good opportunity if you have time today to sit down and deal with some of the more specific questions. So having said that, we have a couple people wanting to speak on second round. So Councillor Thompson, did you still want to speak on a second round? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Through you, the chair. One of the things that was brought up was about the good planning. So I believe that there was a second part to the answer that spoke in terms of in context with the Planning Act, I believe, or could, maybe you could just correct me. What exactly did you say it was in context with?
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, the city's official plan.
Right, thank you. So, and the city's official plan, this is also including the regional's official plan. It's also including the provincial planning statements and so on and so forth, including all the bills that have been thrown down here. So this has nothing to do with whether you agree with any of those things. It's just from a professional standpoint, this is what you're having to make your recommendation based on, correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, that is correct.
Right. Thank you very much. And I think that's the thing to know here is that, you know, they are the professionals. They will be looking at things at the site plan approval, as the mayor has said. Are we going to be skeptics? Absolutely. You know, I think about, you know, when the Tridel building was built. I live right in behind the Tridel building. And was I skeptical of all the things that, you know, that we were worried about in terms of traffic and everything else? Absolutely I was. Did they all come to fruition the way because I wanted to be able to say, I told you so. Well, I didn't get to that position of I told you so. So I do have to trust that staff are doing the right thing when it comes to the site plan approval. There will be a whole host of nuances, as the mayor has said, that, you know, they will have to go through first just to get there. So again, I'm only endorsing this because, as Councillor Hsu had said, you know, this is where, you know, we will undoubtedly lose if this goes to the OLT. And we would also be spending an enormous amount of money of your taxpayer dollars to fight a losing battle. And I just can't bring myself to do that, because all I'd be doing is, you know, trying to make a statement to appease the folks here. And, you know, that's, yeah, it's just not something I can do. So those are my comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Tree and then Councillor Davidson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to echo two things. I think we mentioned the Crosby road extension, and so far what I got is that plan maybe taking years. So I want to echo that part. So I believe that infrastructure is not ready. So this proposal is a little bit more premature. So if there is a new street coming to the Crosby extension to the nearby on the east side, and then maybe the entire proposal might be shifting a little bit. So the traffic are leading to the Young Street instead going to the House Street. That is my first observation. The second part is one of our residents mentioned there might be chances to shifting the entire high density to the east side, very close east side, and leave the west side a little bit less densities. So I don't know the end of the solution will looks like, but believe so this way will keep the current communities less impact, and also you can still intensify on the east side of that. It might be a trade-off solution. I'm not a planner, so I just maybe that might be a compromise in the middle. So I don't know if the builder or the proposer want to choose that way, but I think that way will be definitely benefits the existing communities and protecting our heritage, and also intensify on the east side. This way, I hope meet majority of the interests of community and also builder. But this is my recommendation as well. I'll wrap up. So I'll wait for maybe a wrap up later on. Thank you so much.
Okay. Councillor Davidson, you're the last on the speakers list.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I hear folks saying, you know, why don't we just make it a townhouse, or why don't we make it something smaller? And the truth is, this is a piece of property that we don't own. The developer owns it. So it'd be the same if you bought a piece of property and you wanted to build your dream house, a couple of stories and 3 garages and then your neighbor came over and said, you know what, I'm envisioning a bungalow and a carport. And you're going to say, well, it's my property and I'll build as big as I can because I want to maximize profits. And that's what's happening. Builders aren't nonprofits. Obviously, 15 stories will make more money than 4-story townhouses, and the province has given them the green light to do that. So I don't know how further express that we don't own the property and we can't tell them beyond the limits of what the province has said, what can be built there. That's the end of my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's exhausts the speakers list. You want to wrap up? Oh, yeah, that's right. You didn't move it. So, okay, so we have a motion on the floor. So we,
Can I ask recorded vote?
okay.
Thank you. Through the chair, voting on the motion of Councillor Davis and seconded by Councillor Thompson to approve the staff recommendations. Councillor Tree.
No.
Thank you. Regional Local Councillor Chan.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Liu.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Davidson.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor West.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you. Regional Local Councillor DePaula.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Shu.
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Silovitz is absent. That motion does carry only.
Okay, so at this point in time, that exhausts our agenda. We need a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of this meeting. Come on. Councillor Liu, Councillor Davidson, all those in favor, opposed, that carries. And now a motion to adjourn. Councillor Regional and Local Councillor DePaulo, Councillor Tree, all those in favor. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.